So hey guys, Coach Edmund here again, and if you can see a different backdrop, different background, well, the reason is because I'm actually now overseas, but at the same time, I also just had a Zoom with a client, and this client is actually very concerned about like how River Modern is going to be launched moving forward, and this is going to happen this week. So if today you are in this video and you want to understand how River Modern could be an optional choice for you for a new launch, then you want to continue watching. Again, Happy New Year to every single one. And Guaco Land has purposely put the launch of River Modern during this Chinese New Year festive season. And what's more, there will be a lot of people who may be very free and want to go to show flat visit, right? So I think this is a very strong strategy that by Coco Land. But of course, in this video, I just want to kind of address a little bit of concerns like some in the marketplace, right? Like for example, in this Zoom that my client went through with me, even though I'm overseas, yes, I'm working very, very hard. So if this is your first time kind of watching this video, you may want to kind of subscribe and like this video. And if you have been following me for a while, you know I push out strategy, especially in this kind of new launch season where there's multiple launches coming in. You may be confused, you may be worried, you may be FOMO, and you do not know how to make a better decision. Then you should continue watching this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you can actually follow through all my videos every single week, even when I'm overseas. Right? So don't worry if you are looking at River Modern and you need our help. I'll be back during the launch period. All right. So don't worry about that. A lot of my clients actually reach out to us and say, oh, can you enjoy your holiday? But I always feel that there's an obligation for us to actually help you in this journey, because even if we are overseas and you miss out a property that is good enough for you to enter, then we are doing you an injustice. So don't worry about whether we are overseas or not. We are always here for you. So coming back, right, the question that my client actually pushed out to me was, today, will River Modern be launching at the 2009 to even 3000 per square foot, just like how the River Green as well as the other projects nearby do? So the question is, will they launch at that range, or potentially it will be more than $3,500 per square foot? And the big question is, what if it really launched at $3,500 per square foot? Is it still worth it? Does it still make sense? So instead of you guessing your way into the marketplace, how about we look at the data and numbers research that we have done to let you understand how River Modern potentially could be priced, and how you can decide whether River Modern is rightfully for you. All right, so in this video, you must continue watching, because I'll be sharing with you the details of how we see in terms of River Modern pricing versus the surrounding properties as well. So let me share my screen in a short while so that all of us were able to go through it without guessing our way in the property market. A lot of noises currently right now, because there's a lot of homeowners out there are thinking that, oh, perhaps they will be launching at 3,000 or even 2,008 per square foot, which is definitely something that the developer has actually already put up, starting from $2,800 per square foot. So again, if you have not watched my previous video, go and watch it and understand what this starting price is about. But today I want to kind of use another perspective to share with you how River Modern should be seen. Because today, if you are keeping looking at the per square foot, you could be very disappointed, because ultimately in River Valley area, we're already seeing property prices, PSF, going above 3,000 per square foot. So watch my other video and I share with you what is the starting price trap that a lot of homeowners fall into, and you can watch it in one of my other videos up there. All right. But today I want to guide you guys through is to kind of look at the quantum a little bit more. Okay, a little bit more. Why? Because the quantum, it plays a huge part, especially if today we are going to go into taking a bank loan. All right, the loan perspective is always on the overall quantum, and if you are able to have the affordability to purchase that kind of level. So today we are not talking only about River Modern, but we are talking about multiple new launches coming up. If for the last 2 to 3 years you have been in the new launch season and you've been chasing them, and you couldn't get a unit, it could be perhaps you have been looking at it from a wrong perspective. All right, so this is a QR code that you can actually reach out to us and see whether we are able to share with you how homeowners are able to play it safe in this new launch season, instead of chasing all the different launches for the last 2 years, balloting after balloting because your queue number is not good, or the unit that you wanted was already gone, or perhaps even the price point you deem that is not possible. All right, so that's why in today's video for Riviera Modern, what we want to achieve is to allow you to kind of know what's the benchmark. All right, sometimes we, as a homeowner, even me myself as a buyer, we do want to get the lowest price possible, and we are very hopeful developers will launch very, very low for us to buy in. Okay, so the question is that a hope, or we are doing a reality check? All right, so if you really need somebody to guide you through this process and using research data and numbers to plan our exit properly, then you may want to actually scan the QR code and reach out to us to see how we can actually guide you through, not only just for Riviera Modern, but also upcoming launches, because we can help you to disqualify 90% of the new launches out there that is really not suitable for you, and you wouldn't want to fall into that trap. All right, so here is the QR code, scan it, and if you have not subscribed to this channel before, subscribe to it so that we can keep you posted. All right, so for the first thing I want to share with you is based on the price matrix that we have come up with, right? So there is a certain walkaway price that, of course, we will guide our clients in to make sure that when it comes to the launch selection day, you do not fall into the trap of FOMO. You do not buy into because everybody seems to be buying the prices higher and higher, or even in terms of the floor level. And does it make sense for you to even jump into it? So that's why when we are doing a price comparison, later on in the video, I'll also be sharing with you how do we do it for our clients so that you have a better idea versus what you have always been doing yourself. So we have starting from a $2,800, $50 per square foot, all the way to $3,800, just to give us an idea of the threshold of prices that we are looking at. So if let's say the developer launched at 2,850 for a 2-bed 1-bath, it should be hovering about 1.53 million, all the way to 2 million for $3,800 per square foot. So the question we want to ask ourselves is, averagely for River Green, the per square foot is already $3,100 per square foot. So how much will River Modern launch as a developer? If you are a developer, how will you price your property? Will you really price it at $2,800 per square foot? Or you will use the surrounding transaction prices as an indicative, moreover, to determine that River Modern is facing the river, 70% of the units are facing the river. So will that give a certain premium in terms of pricing? All right, so my role here is not to judge you. My role here is to facilitate and guide you to make an informed decision, all right? Because I cannot make a decision for you, right? So you need to have all this access into research data that we are providing you and helping you to collate so you can make an informed decision whether this price points, does it make sense? All right, so we're going to go a little bit more in details so that you as a homeowner, you are not just blindly going in, just looking at the pricing. And one of the key things that we want to also establish is that today, because River Modern is a harmonized project, and harmonized project in terms of the different factors, we also want to study a little bit into this. All right, so let us do a stress test if, okay, what if the River Modern pricing is really at $3,500 per square foot? So I know some of you may be like, sure not, would it happen? 3,500 for River Modern. Surrounding is only hovering about 3,001. But we just want to do a hypothetical example, right? What if $3,500 per square foot is really the launch price? Of course, if your better number is in the earlier batches, then likely 3,500 would be likely for the higher floor units. And it really depends on your affordability and the kind of sizes that you're going for to make sure that you are able to keep within a price point that you're comfortable with. So if let's say we are looking at $3,500 per square foot, right? The average 2-bedroom units were already ranging from 1.8 million onwards, all the way to close to 2.5 million. So if you are having this kind of price range budget, right, then you may use this as a benchmark, as a threshold. Again, we are not sure whether developers will really launch at 3,500. Likely, maybe even the higher floors at 3,500. So later on in the video, you must continue watching, because we were going to see, is even at 3,500 for the 2-bedroom and 3-bedrooms, are they still valid? All right, does it still make sense? And we will not be covering the 4-bedroom today. So if let's say today you are really specifically just looking for the 4-bedroom, you can reach out to us directly, and we will do a very private one-on-one session with you, just to ensure that you are in competition when every projects out there becomes a resale. Right, so then the 3-bedrooms, you can see it goes from 2.7 million, close to 2.8 million, all the way to 3.9 million already. And some of us, when we are looking at the price point, we're like, Paying almost $4 million for a 3-bedroom, does it make sense? But if you have seen the transactions around in River Valley, the 3 bedrooms, bigger size units are already hovering about this kind of pricing. And later on, I'll share with you the specific project, the specific type of units, and what is the price point that have been going for. All right, so I think this is very important. And the 4-bedroom, of course, right now we're looking at 5 million to 6 million range. And of course, this is also not for everybody. And so one of the key things that the question is 3,005 being tested in today's marketplace? So instead of just looking at the PSF, I also want you all to be also conscious about the quantum, okay? About the quantum. Because today we are in a harmonized environment, and if the quantum itself is digestible, is within our means, could that be an option for us to look into the property pricing? Okay, so I just want to pull out a key thing, a few findings that we have realized, right? So first of all, multi-modern is done and built basically before COVID happens. So for multi-modern in general, their unit sizes, okay, are typically the ones that are a little bit more bigger floor plates, okay? And one of the key findings that we realized is that the percentage between the Singaporean and PR versus the foreigners, okay, does play a difference, because every of the projects in the CCR area generally in the past has always been targeting the foreigners to purchase. And the same goes for multi-modern. The percentage for the Singaporean and PR are actually much lesser than the foreigners. Okay, so this is all before COVID findings that we realized. Okay, and first of all, for multi-modern, it's away from the MRT station and the mall, and it doesn't have a Singapore river facing. And let us just take a look at the average per pricing, right? They have already sold at 2.18 million for their 2 bedrooms. Okay, given that the size is 764, remember this is non-harmonized project. So at 2.18 million, just now when you're looking at how much we should be able to achieve a 2-bed unit, is definitely less than 2.18 million. Okay, and if you look at the 3-bedroom units, they are already hovering close to 3 million. And these are the bigger floor plate at 1087 as well. So why do I want to share with you this? Because I just want to let you know that right now, in terms of River Valley, if you are not familiar with that location, of course, everything seems to be very high in your understanding. But there are transactions already being done, which means that buyers are accepting this kind of price point for a particular type of properties in this region. All right, and I'm going to show you more examples later on, so continue watching. All right, so one of the key things that what we have realized is that if, let's say today we are looking at $3,500 per square foot quantum, so these are the $3,800 prices for River Modern. And for Martin Modern, their 2-bed 2-bath is already 2.18 million. If you look at our 2-bed 2-bath, is at the highest $3,500 per square foot. They are hovering about 2.2 million to even 2.3 million range. And you're getting a newer property, and the layout is also better. Okay, so later on I'll share with you a more direct comparison with layout and why is it that River Modern, even at $3,500 per square foot, from a quantum perspective, it does make a lot of sense. And today, if you look at how the 2-bed 2-bath configuration, this is a typical open kitchen concept with a corridor. All right, this is not a dumbbell unit. So this is also one comparison, and on the 21st floor, people are already accepting at 2.18 million, which means that if today you're able to get River Modern at the same floor by a younger, newer property facing the river, with paying a 2.2 to even $2.3 million, does it make sense? All right, so I'll leave the data information so that you can digest and understand why is it that when we are doing research is so important to let us have a better overview of what is happening in the pricing. So let us move forward to a 3-bed 1087 square feet. If let's say we look at similar range of size, right? Of course, multi-modern again is non-harmonized, right? So it should hover, maybe even if we use the same size at 1089, which means for River Modern it's going to be bigger, it's about 3.8 million, okay, for the 3-bedroom. But the quantum wise, if you look at it, for a 3.16 million or even a 2.9 million normal 3-bedroom, whereas a Martin Modern is at already 3 million, and this is on a lower floor. So these are all comparisons that is important for you as a homeowner to make so that you can see what happens when the certain price point goes to a certain level. And this is something very important that we always get our clients in during the selection day, because there are certain prices that is just don't make sense once it crosses a certain floor level or even a certain facing. And if you are not quick enough to spot the differences, you may be overpaying for that specific project because of the price jump. All right, so that's why we are very careful in helping our clients to actually look into the details. And shortly, I will also be sharing with you how do we actually do it for our clients and what do we do in order to prepare you for the launch day. Let us take a look at now with the 3-bed, 3-bath, and this is of course with a the 1421 square feet at 4.15 million. Okay, and this basically you have the private lift approach lah. So of course not everybody is a fancy of a private lift, but if you look at our 1098 and 1109 with a flexi room, which is I would believe is more practical, is already hovering about 3.81 million to 3.88 million, which is lesser than even 4.15 million. Of course, this is a very subjective, right? Some people, they prefer the private lift. It gives them the premiumness. Whereas most people, I mean, I wouldn't say most people, some, okay, maybe just like me, I look at practicality more, the usability of space, whether it's functional or not. And most importantly is that space I'm paying for can be resale in future, because that's how the resale market works, right? The buyers will come in and see whether is it practical, is it livable. So if you look at a 3 flexi or even 3 plus study, right, the ranging price is from 3.1 million to even 3.9 million, is already lesser than 4.15 million for multi-modern, and this is already calling at $3,500 per square foot. Okay, so I'm not going to touch on the 4-bedroom again. So let us just look at another example, Rivière. So Rivière pricing also, again, this is before COVID. So their foreigner versus Singaporean and PR percentage is also maybe about 70, 30, 40, 60 kind of range, with the Singaporeans numbers lesser. So this is interesting that we see is that because before COVID and after COVID, we do see a shift in buyers' behavior, even in developer strategy. Okay, and this is important for us as homeowners to take note of, because whatever you're buying today, you're not buying today. You have to buy into the future. All right, you have to think about what's your exit strategy going to be in a particular location, particular price, particular floor level, and whether your competition is going to be high in the next couple of years. All right, so no doubt property is a longer term planning, but I will always want to have a checkpoint in the SSD period, or even 5 to 7 years, which is a midterm, because there will be always changes in your plans. And when you have changes in your plan, the last thing you want is to get stuck with your property that you cannot exit. You don't have you're unable to sell it to the next person, or should I say you'll be in huge competition when you want to sell. So in my previous videos, I also have highlighted some projects that have this kind of situation. And that's the reason why today, if you're going into new launch, you need to really disqualify 90% of the launches first before you even decide which one suits you more. All right, so that's what we do for our clients as well. So if you can see at Riviera, right, their 3-bedroom, $1,200 per square size, we're already calling at 3.7 million. And these are all transaction units recently. It's not like 2 years ago, 3 years ago prices. Even their smaller 2-bedroom units are already calling at 2.25 million. So if you look at this as a guideline, right, for 2.25 million for a 2-bed, you can easily get a 2-bed plus study at River Modern. Okay, and if you look at the 3-bed at 1216 at 3.7 million, even if we call at the highest, the biggest unit size at 1109 square feet is already 3.8 million. So it's rather very similar in terms of quantum. But then, of course, the layout also plays a huge important part lah. Okay, so if you look at the 2-bedroom unit, of course, you are taking on a very conventional layout as well, a 2-bed run. Size-wise, 818, but don't forget, this is a non-harmonized project. So already according at 2.375 million. And today, if you are going for a 2-bed, 2-bath, you can easily get it about 2.2, or even if you want to have a plus, 2.4, 2.2 to 2.4 million range with a younger property. The same thing goes for a 3-bed, 2-bath at 1173 square feet, a 5th floor unit that has been just transacted at 3.35 million. And if you compare to the 3-bedroom pricing, they are very, very acceptable at 2 million to even 3.1 million. And those are the normal 3-bedroom. But if you look at the another configuration at Riviera where they have the 3-bed, 3-bath, they are already calling at least 3.7 million, which is our 3-bedroom premium. They are also within the 3.8 million range starting from. Again, these are all based on $3,500 per square foot, just as an estimate. To give us a ballpark, like, is it really crazy for us to think that developer will not launch at 3,500? Or based on surrounding prices, they do their research and they realize the acceptable amount for River Modern can reach as high as $3,500 per square foot. So would you believe that they're going to launch around this kind of pricing? If you agree or don't agree, you can comment inside to see how many people actually agree and how many people don't agree. Okay, I also read those comments so that I can actually interact with you at the same time. So, so just to give you a quick overview for River Modern, right? If let's say today, they are 2-bed, 1-bath, right? So this is where we dive deeper into the comparison, right? Just to give you a quick overview, 2-bed, 1-bath, if let's say we're looking at $3,500 per square foot, we're talking about 1.833 million, okay? And typically, Irwell Hill itself for a 2-bed, 1-bath, we use this as a comparison, 614 square feet, has already transacted at $677 million. Okay, and this is a 5th floor unit. Okay, so let us take a look deeper into layouts so that today, when everything becomes a resale, that's how buyers will compare whether the layout makes a lot of sense, whether the space usage, the flexibility of it, does it make sense for me to purchase? So for the River Modern 2-bed, 1-bath, we are typically having a dumbbell unit. And what I typically like is that there's a cut-off of a dining area space, which previous years' projects are usually aligned towards your living area, which makes it a little bit odd because you kind of don't have a space. But what Real Modern did was they actually cut off an area where you can really put in a proper dining. Or even if you don't want to use this dining, you can actually use it as a common area, study area, and you put your dining in the balcony space. So again, River Modern is non-harmonized, so AC, latch, all these are not included. And they have a very nice open space when you enter to the property with an island kitchen. So if you want to understand more of the layout comparison, because they have different layouts, right, for even the 2-bedroom, 3-bedrooms, right? So you want to check out the other video where I go more in depth into the layout comparisons and also with surrounding developments, how do River Modern pan out? And maybe that will help you decide better whether is River Modern really the ideal project for you, or perhaps you could even look at the resale markets in that environment instead of just chasing for the new launcher. All right, so Irwell here, when we compare Irwell, right, if you can see, let me just blow this up a little bit so that you can see better. All right, so if you can see for Irwell, it's a traditional, the corridor kind of layout. So everybody is saying, that, oh, there's wasted space, but that's how it is, right? You need to have walkway space. And also at the same time, you do have a longer kind of wasted space right in the center. Give and take, this is how developer, place the design. And we are very creative. We know how to make use of the spaces if given. So a lot of times they will want to kind of put in their shoe cabinet, this area, and they're able to kind of build it very nicely. And I've seen developments, what they do is they even use the other side of the plain wall, and then they put in the mirror. It's to kind of enlarge the entire space. So these are all more of ID treatments that you can spend a little bit more to kind of beautify it. But again, I'm always very sensitive in terms of usability of space and whether the amount that I'm paying for, has it been utilized or not. All right, so if you look at this too, then of course for the Irwell Hill, right, you still have to be calculating the aircon latch into it because this is a non-harmonized. So if you look at it this way, right, even for 614 square feet, I will potentially think that the sizes will be much smaller, okay, in terms of all these AC latch kind of configuration. Balcony wise, it should be not too different. It should be quite similar, all right, in terms of the usage of space. Yeah, but again, if we look at today, for a 2-bed 1-bath configuration for Irwell, already has been transacted at 1.677 million. And even if Riviera Modern really launched at $3,500 per square foot at 1.883 million facing the river, would you have an advantage that you're also near to the MRT and you're very near to the mall? All right, so these are all real comparisons you want to do. And next, if we go into the 2-bedroom premium, all right, so let us take a look at the Riviera Modern layout again. So this is again a dumbbell layout. You have a C-shaped kitchen. All right, again, AC latch are not included. And when you come in and walk in, there's actually also additional space that you can put in your shoe cabinet if you want to. All right, so all these are additional areas where developers have thought ahead, so you can kind of use it for your own space. And for Riviera Modern, really, what I really prefer is they having this dining cutout area. All right, if we use it to compare to Riviera, all right, a Riviera 2-bed 2-bath unit at 818 square feet, 6th-floor unit has already transacted at 2.375 million. So again, if you look at the layout wise, right, again, AC latch, all right, we have to count. There's kind of a corridor space we have to count, okay, and there's also wasted space at this area. Of course, if you look at it, it seems to be a little bit more squarish because they kind of tuck everything in one corner. But if you are talking about a 2-bed 2-bath configuration at 818 versus a 689 square feet kind of size, they are very similar, and that's how we compare because of harmonized and not harmonized. And moving forward, if you ask me, if any one of you have purchased properties for quite a while back and it is falling under the non-harmonized project, recently I did a workshop with with a group of investors, right, and guiding them on what should we be looking out forward in the next 2026 and beyond in terms of the choosing of property layouts. So if you're interested to kind of join us in our future workshops that we kind of run it very exclusively for our clients, you may want to also kind of comment inside in the bottom so we can actually reach out to you and see whether you are free to actually join us to kind of understand how the market have shifted, the consumer behavior have changed, and we should keep our properties up to date as well. All right, so coming back, Riviera Modern and Riviera layout comparison. So again, it's all about the quantum, right? If Riviera are able to transact at 2,375 per square foot, right? Then even at $3,500 per square foot for a 2-bed 2-bath, right? At 1.8 million to even 2.2 million, we are actually much lower than even the resale market. All right, so this is a unique pricing strategy that we see, and that's why even at $3,500 per square foot, the entry for Riviera Modern somehow is still acceptable. Okay, and if you look at Martin Modern, is the same. They have a long corridor, okay, a long corridor area, as well as an aircon latch that's been included. And for Martin Modern has already transacted at 2.18 million for a 764 unit. So when we do some of all this very nearby comparison, of course, we are not comparing it to like the OCR kind of mass market units, right? We want to keep it within that development, an area, an estate or district to let us do an apple-to-apple comparison, easy. So let's say 3,005 could be a little bit crazy. Could the developer be launching for a mid-floor unit at about 3,002 or maybe a higher floor at 3,002? Let us just take a look at if it's a $3,200 per square foot, we are in this region, it's only 1.721 million to 2.067 million range depending on the configuration, right? Actually, so you're actually doing quite a lot of savings in terms of the entry. So always remember today, why are we talking about quantum? Because today, if your quantum is lower, in future, which means you intend to maybe make another, 20% in term. And the amount is still acceptable. So let's say 1.7 million, you intend to sell it at 2 million. And if you are able to put it into the market, a 2 million property for Riviera Modern versus Riviera, where they already transacted at 2.3 million or even 2.18 million, are you still priced more affordable and very attractive in the eyes of a resale market? So this is why we are always thinking about what is your exit first. We always need to make sure your property has signals that we can exit before we even buy, and we don't just buy blindly, right? So let us take a look at Riviera Modern 3-bed 2-bath with a flexi room configuration. All right, so I think this very efficient. Again, there are many different multiple layouts for the 2 and 3 bedrooms, so you can actually watch the other videos too, where we really compare all the different layouts and what is my top choice for each type of properties, so you can use it as a reference point whenever you buy a property. All right, so for the 3-bedroom, right, we are using C4 and Stack 4, just an example for 904, which is the more unique kind of layout. Of course, this is not for everybody, right? Because for the other 3-bedroom layout, if you have realized, the kitchen and the toilets do not have windows. All right. But if you are somebody who's particular about that unit ventilation, then this is the only layout that you want to go for. It comes with a very comfortable balcony, and you may say that, how come the balcony is so big? Okay, because it extended all the way to the kitchen side. Okay, it extended all the way to the kitchen side to provide the ventilation. But at the same time, you can also use this as a storage area as well. All right, or it can become part of your outdoor kind of wet kitchen pantry, where you can put in all the items for your kitchen space, right? Yeah, so this is the only configuration, if you ask me. It takes a little bit of accepting. They still have the cutoff for the dining. Okay, dining space still have. And one of the more important part is that when you come in, you have a very sizable view facing the future construction site. So again, this is why the developer put in this way. It's also different strategies lah. I believe they want to actually sell off the other 3-bedroom unit types first. Okay, but that's just my thought process. But of course, even if you say that, oh, there are some, not so good factor about Riviera Modern layout, which is not easily acceptable by a lot of people. But at the same time, if you look at Riviera, they are also not that fantastic lah, or in terms of their layout. So let's just take a look at Martin Modern and Riviera, right? For 1173 square feet, already transacted at 3.35 million. You can see that again, your entrance wasted space. You have your aircon latch. Okay, all these areas are also kind of wasted. So the configuration, although it's a little more compact, but people are paying 3.35 million. Okay, this is a slight mistake for Martin Modern. This is actually a 3-bed 2-bath. Okay, for 1087 square feet for a third floor, I remember this is already calling at least close to 3 million. We have an open area where you cannot really do much. You have your aircon latch and configuration. So this one is a typical corridor kind of space layout. But again, I want to factor in is the quantum. The quantum for 3 million to 3.35 million has already been accepted in this location. And if developer really launch at $3,200 per square foot, let us take a look at the pricing. It goes even below 2.9 million even. So what is the worst case situation? They launch at 3,005, and oops, let me just write it so it's clearer. At 3,005, I think it's still very acceptable in terms of quantum. But again, like I say, although the numbers do make sense that, hey, since it's lower when compared to all the resales, you should just buy this property. I think that should not be only your decision-making process. I think there are a lot of factors to look into, not just about because you're buying cheaper than the rest. Okay. I think when our clients went through with us, we always want to make sure that different criteria that we have a proper checklist before we even decide whether this project is something that we should go for. Even the price point is something that we can accept moving forward. So there's a lot of configuration when we are looking at properties, and not just about, oh, I'm buying actually lower than the neighbors and that's how I buy property. This is just one of the key criteria. One key criteria. All right, I have 18 to go through before we even buy a property. All right, just to let you know. Okay, so Riviera Modern 3-bed 3-bath. I think this is, of course, a very fantastic kind of layout for Riviera Modern. Okay, very comfortable. And of course, with the river facing, that's why you have a very comfortable balcony space. And this is a landscape layout. Okay, so landscape, you can't run away with not having a balcony space because you want to enjoy, right? So I believe this will be one of the most popular layout in Riviera Modern. Space-wise, 1098, very comfortable, very efficient. And with the proper 3 bedrooms with a flexi and a private lift, it gives you the premiumness that you have. The only thing that I always hum a little bit of this is how they did their flexi lah. Their flexi kind of a little bit weird. Now, of course, if you go to the show flat, let me just warn all of you, you'll be wow first, okay? But just take note, the dry kitchen that they have put in there is part of the flexi. So please watch it with care when you're at the show flat. Or if you need somebody to really give you the bells and whistles and give you the ins and outs, what to take note of in a show flat, you can also reach out to us and we'll be able to arrange a private tour to give you insights where we are unable to share online like this. Okay, so on a one-on-one basis, we are able to share with you a little bit more in details of how certain projects or how certain units and layouts may not be suitable for you in this case. All right, so of course for the River modern layout, for me, I love landscape layout, right? So this is always one of my favorite landscape layout developments. It's just that I have some concerns about the kitchen and the flexi kind of arrangement. A little bit weird, but still functional. Perhaps Quaco is going in with a new setup for River modern, and usually they're also the front mover, right? Whenever they do something, then other developers will kind of follow suit, which is something that I think it may work. So another thing you must take note of, they have split the bath to become like a kind of powder bath, which is usually seen in landed properties. So they have done a powder bath kind of concept, where instead of putting the WC inside the kitchen and the yard area, they kind of split it out. Mixed feelings about this. What I really did not see was 3-bedroom dumbbell configuration that they have sized it correctly. Yeah, so moving forward, I believe that will be one of the most interesting and most viable layout as a 3-bedroom dumbbell, if any of the projects have. Also, for this 1098, we do not get it, but it's still functional because they have kept even the corridor space as short as possible. So these are all efficient layouts that we need to kind of look into. So, but if we look at Rivière as well as Martin Modern size, okay, so let's take a look at Rivière. Okay, Rivière, again, your AC latch, we have to minus off. Okay, you have a long corridor kind of configuration. The normal corridor space is actually acceptable. And with a 1216 square feet, sometimes you wonder, where the size goes to, because the image looks very small. But I think more importantly is the transactor value at 3.7 million. So again, my friends, you must always understand when there's transactions at this kind of amount, meaning the prices buyers are able to accept. Okay, it's not based on ourselves when we feel that, oh, it's so high, we cannot accept. But that's because our reference point is wrong. Okay, so a lot of us, when we are looking at prices, we may look at in the past. The past prices has always been lower than where we are now. But if you look 10 years down into the future, the prices will be a lot much higher. And for Martin Modern, their 3-bed 3-bath already transacted at 4.15 million. And this is where, if you ask me, Martin Modern may have a slight edge, because this is a typical, the new version of a dumbbell 3-bedroom layout, which is something that I personally love the best. The only question is, at 4.15 million, is this something that can be absorbed in the marketplace? Although this is a resale, people already accepted. But at 4.15 million, I believe there's also a lot of more choices in the marketplace. You do not need to just stay within the River Valley area. So if River Modern 3-bed 3-bath are launching at about $3,200 per square foot, we are hovering about the 2.8 million range all the way to about 3.5 million, depending on the size that you're getting for. And in the worst case situation, at $3,500 per square foot, it's already 3.1 million to 3.8 million, which is very, very comparable to Rivière as well as Martin Modern. So when we are doing our research like this, it also gives us an idea and a better indication, like, am I actually overpaying for this property? You know, of course, subject to your affordability, your monthly, whether you can sustain the payment. But the livability is still important. Remember, my friends, whenever it becomes a resale, buyers are able to go in and walk into the unit to experience it themselves. So you need to be extra careful with choosing the layout, choosing the type of size that is the least competition. So one of the interesting part that we realize is, because River Green has launched their developments in in a very unique strategy, if you ask me. They have kept their sizes extremely compact. All right, their 3-bedroom is like, if I'm not mistaken, is about 794 square feet, and their 4-bedroom is 980 square feet. So based on that, their quantum is actually very comfortable to enter, which is why almost 90% of them are purchasing are also Singaporeans, right, or upgraders. So it sold very, very well because the entry is low. But then the other side of things I always ask myself is, if you're in River Valley area, you would have the dough, or you have the money in the pocket to actually pay for something that is better, not just about size and low entry, right? You also want to have sizable space, livability, and this is where I see that real modern becomes a gap. Okay, in terms of the layout, in terms of the size, in terms of the quantum, we are bridging and filling up the gap that River Valley is missing. Because the other developments, like even for Prominent Peak, right, they're all of bigger sizes, and not to say about the layout, okay? So River Model, I believe, with this layout and this kind of pricing, if even at $3,200 or even $3,500, $100 per square foot, we are filling up the supply gap in River Valley, and which makes your exit in future very, very desirable, because we are kind of fitting in between River Green as well as the other projects nearby. So this is very interesting when we were doing our findings, and I believe if, let's say, today you're going for a balloting and you do not want to miss out this chance, you may want to have a proper strategy and overly prepare yourself first before the selection day. I think this is equally important. I just want to give you a quick overview, like how Canning Hill Pier is, right? Just to give you a quick ballpark. There are 2-bed, 2-bath, because they're also kind of facing the river, right? It's already at 2.37 million. There are 3-bed, 2-bath is already at 3.512 million. 3-bed, 3-bath is already at 4.48 million. So if you compare the 2-bed, 2-bath at 2.37 million and where we are in terms of our 2-bed, 2-bath, we are somehow very similar, but of course, layout wise, we still need to do some comparison. And the 3-bed, 2-bath is at 3.15 million. We are only starting about less than 3.2 million. So a much more savings. Canning Hill here again is not a fair comparison, because this one is very near where you want to party lah. If you're a party animal, then Canning Hill Pier comes down. There's also commercial space. But I just want to let you know that people are already accepting and the kind of pricing effectively. And today you're buying real modern is not, this prices is now. Okay, what we are seeing, the prices are right now. Potentially, how will the next 3 years prices grow in time to come? So using Canning Hill Pier is just to give you a reference point. It's not like real model will perform or should sell at Canning Hill pricing. All right, so that's not the whole reason. So this is also a reason why a lot of homeowners, they kind of went through with us in consult, so that we can help to disqualify 90% of launches. So you never buy based on hype, emotion, and pressure. And most importantly, you are able to map your next 3 property moves and buy only exit ready properties, okay, and unit types. So this is where we do a lot more research. I also want to quickly give you all guys a quick glimpse, right? Like, because recently we have the latest Tanjong Rhu GLS land site that's launched. And interestingly, ECDL bidded 1455, and with a lot of developers also bidding very similar pricing, which means they are very confident about Tanjong Rhu site, how much it should be launching at, or how much the value of the area and land should be worth. And for real modern, we are a CCR land, and we are only just $35 per square foot per PPR, lower than what they are doing. So if, let's say, today their break even is supposed to be about $2,600 per square foot, how much do you think they will be launching at for a Tanjong Rhu location? Would it be at 3,000 or even at $3,200 per square foot? So these are the latest land bid sites that when we realize that developers are bidding higher and higher, it also gives us a window opportunity to enter the market at a lower entry for the land cost. Because for OCR, right, this is at, where is this place? Bedok Rise, okay? This is an OCR property. And there are so many bidders for that piece of land, and All Green got it at 1,330 per square foot per PPR. And we are only, as a CCR land, we are only $90 per square foot higher. So the difference is not a lot. So for all green, if they are going to break even this property, they need to launch at least about $2,500 per square foot for a OCR Bedok land. Can you imagine how much if they are going to launch maybe at 2.8 per square foot or even 2.9 per square foot? And today you are able to own a CCR River Modern by the river. Basically, is a prime land configuration. And what if you only pay $200 or even $300 per square foot more in terms of that? All right, so these are some of the OCR kind of pricing that we are expecting. But let us use a more nearer comparison, which is in the CCR region. All right, so this is the Newton Bukit Timah site. Okay, Bukit Timah land site, so it's very near to Newton. They already purchased the land at 1,820 per square foot, and this compared to River Modern, we are $400 per square foot lower. So for the Bukit Timah Road, is if you are going to buy that property, they will break even at about 2,500. And looking at nearby Newton properties, Copa, some of all these developments, will they easily launch above 3,000 per square foot? And even at 3,000 per square foot or even $3,200 per square foot, will you want to see the highway every day? Based on the location of it. Okay, so it tells to be seen how developers are going to be building this development. Yeah, because we know how heavy the traffic of the highway is. Okay, and now if you are able to get River Modern with a very more quiet, serene kind of location near the MRT as well as the malls, would it be a different lifestyle altogether? So based on land, what we realize is there's a misalignment of costs. And today we are in a very unique opportunity window where we are able to enter properties in prime locations at a much lower cost. Okay, so for example, for Sky Holland, they average about 3,000 per square foot. All right, and River Green averaged about $3,100 per square foot. And Dorset, that is going to be launched soon, right? They have purchased the land at 1,380 per square foot. So if we have priced it along this way so that you are able to see how we can tap on the advantage of using the land bid prices as a guide. Again, why do I say that it's a guide? Because it doesn't mean that the developer purchased the land lower cost means they will launch it lower price as well to us consumers. But that gives us a better indication that if today, would you want to go for Tanjong Rhu area that is almost the same price as a CCR location example? Okay, and with River Modern at $1,400 20 per square foot, in future all the other land bid prices are much higher, which means their overall cost has to be higher as well. Okay, so this is how we also help you to kind of make arrangements for developments. And we have done kind of research about the one bedrooms in the CCR and RCR region. And this is also some of the research that we've done that we will help you. And if you find that you need some of all this breakdown to give you a better indication of how to select properties, whether it's the new launches or even the resale market, these are what we do, and we list it down very clearly, whether they're harmonized, non-harmonized, and whether they are the sub-sale or whether are new sales, and as well as the overall quantum. Because for one bedroom in CCR and RCR, right, people are already accepting at 1.7 million. Already at 1.7, 1.6 plus million, 1.5 plus million. People are already accepting in the RCR market. And CCR market, you can see that most of them are, of course, depending on sizes, right, are already hovering close to 2 million and above. So these are just the one bedroom type of transactions. Of course, River Modern, we don't have one bedroom, which is a smart move. If not, you'll be like Irwell Hill, where they have a lot of 1 and 2 bedroom that consists about, or at least 80% of the 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, which is why the development kind of gets stuck in somehow in terms of resale market. Not that nobody buys, but the prices are kind of stagnant, and yeah, those who are owning a well hill, they may have to think of other strategies and to put it out for rental for longer term. But if we look at 2-bedroom transactions, right, for the RCR, if we just use an average for the prices, you can see they all hover above 2 million easily. Okay, anything is above 2 million. And for the CCR, they all hover about 2.7 million and above. So these are the acceptable prices in the region. Of course, when we go look at the region, then we will kind of go into the district or even the estate specifically to see how the prices comparison. So if you like that, this is the kind of research that you need to help you make an informed decision, right? You can reach out to us so that we can kind of run this through a little bit more in details to guide you through. And we also have done even the 3-bedroom as well. And like even the recent Zion Grand, Prominent Peak, we have listed out all the developments in terms of pricing. So to allow us to have one glimpse to know, okay, who are my competitions? How is the supply going to be? How is the prices accepted in this region to help us better? And these are all very recent transactions in the last 12 months, right? And also the 4-bedroom. Okay. Yeah. So if you think that these are the kind of research and data and in-depth understanding that can help you position your entry better, to position your property selection so that you can exit well in future, then you may want to kind of reach out to us so that we can provide you access into all this information to help you make better decisions. All right. So again, why we do all this is because we want to help you to disqualify 90% of the new launches, and 90% of them are traps. You may not be able to exit easily. And a lot of homeowners, when they buy a property, they did not think about what's their next 3 property moves. So that's what we want to do to help you to gain better clarity, to gain more confidence about how your property should be done. Instead of guessing, you want to start deciding. Okay. So while we are on this topic, a lot of homeowners, they go into balloting with no plans. They did not prepare themselves. So these are some of the things that we do to guide you through, and the process of how when you're working with us on a one-on-one basis, we are able to kind of handhold you through this entire journey without you rushing, without you feeling FOMO, because we are kiasu, we're more kiasu, we prepare a lot more things to get you ready. And whether on the final day when the prices are being released, is that something that we can accept? Is that something overpriced? Or is it something that when we purchase it, we may want to hold it a little longer? These are all questions that we will throw to you as well when we are in discussion. So this is just one of the examples that when we are doing the selection, we will kind of price out every single property prices, unit types, and every changes on the actual day, we will also update. And so this is to give you a much more advantage when we are doing a selection properties. Again, it's all still down to balloting and whether your queue number is in line with the price that you want, the unit that you want, the facing that you want, the floor level that you want. So there's a lot of computations that on the spot we will need to derive and generate for you. And that's where we come in with our expertise and our experience, and we ourselves also have went through the process. We are able to show you and guide you what are the things to take note of and what are the things that we must avoid totally so that we don't fall into a stuck unit. All right, so this is just some examples. All right, so how can you work with us? Very simple. Even though now I'm overseas, don't worry, I'll be back with the launch during the launch period. So we will meet up with a kind of go through a proper financial plan so that we know what's your affordability, what's safe and what's risky for you. And then if you want, and then we can actually book a private tour, and we will give you the inside outs about the development that you need, the floor plan, the site plan, and to give you our own inputs of what we have seen homeowners fall into the traps that you should totally avoid. And if you find that real model is something that you are very interested in, then we will register for our interest. And of course, during this period, this is where the e-balloting will start, and that's when you will get your queue number. And during this process, that's when we will work out and go through multiple times to realign in terms of price strategy. Okay, the pricing strategy as well as the walk-away price. Okay, we will constantly be monitoring the market so that we know what's the threshold of a pricing that it just don't make sense anymore when it reaches that price. All right, so these are some of the flow that we'll bring you through. So if you find that today, whatever you went through, it does make sense and it feels that, okay, you really need professional help. You really need somebody who have done it themselves before to guide you through this entire process. Again, Riviera Modern is not the only launch this year. There's multiple launches. The question is, are you going to chase the launches or are you going to decide which one is better for you on this journey for property? All right, so with that, I thank all of you for coming on board and to subscribe to this channel as well so that we can guide you through the entire property journey without guessing, and you rely solely on data, facts, and numbers to make an informed decision. So if you have not subscribed, like, and put on the notification bell for this video, now's the only time to do so. So with that, Coach Edmund signing off, and I see you very soon back in Singapore. Happy New Year, everyone.